I sense a change coming.
There has been an undercurrent that I think collectors were paying attention to that speculators are finally catching wind of.
These are the most trending comics this week. Number 10 on the list is X-Men number 5. This just came out. It's a 1 in 25 by Elizabeth Torque, selling less than ratio, mind you, at a $20 average. This is The Run by Jed McKay and Ryan Stegman. And issue 5 is being touted as the best thus far.
Now, the interesting thing about this number 5 is that on the cover, it actually says issue number 1. And that's the reason why we're seeing it on the list this week. Yes, it's a misprint. Yes, it's an error. But if it's going to hold long term, we really need to look at multiple factors. Is it something that's enough of an error that we're going to have to get a recall and a pulp and a reissue? I don't think so. This isn't they accidentally let a swear word through or someone inserted some type of religious messages that Marvel wasn't approving. Like, this is just an error. And I think long term, in 5 years, when someone finds a copy of this book, they're just going to be confused looking up number 5 because it says number 1 and they can't find it in the price guide. Selling for $20 now is fine. Yes, I'm seeing it listed on eBay for upwards of $40, but I wouldn't pay that because the other thing we have to consider is how many are there. A number 5 generally will have fewer books in a 1 in 25 ratio. But keep in mind that there was a J. Scott Campbell Phoenix cover for this book, so a lot of shops probably bought at least 25. And anyone who wanted the 1 in 100 J. Scott Campbell Virgin cover bought 100 copies. So I believe that there are a substantial number of these 1 in 25 errors. I don't think it's going to get reprinted as a corrected error, and I don't think it's going to spike more than $15, $20, and long term it may be obtainable for even less.
We've been doing this video every single week covering the trending comic books in the marketplace for over 6 years straight without skipping a beat. Slap the subscribe button. And also, officially, giveaways are back weekly. I know I've said that before, but there were some things we had to figure out. We have a new website, ComicTom101 and we source all giveaway winners from our SMS group. All you have to do is go onto the site, put your phone number in. We won't spam you, but you will keep up on all of our drops and you'll get discounts going forward. But also, every giveaway we do, we will source from that group at random. So if you want to win this ASM 41 first appearance of Rhino at a 5.0, go to ComicTom101 and join the SMS group. New York City Comic Con is 2 weeks away. I got some good drops you're going to want to be up to date on. And number 9 on the list is from one of my all-time favorite events to have ever happened. And we're talking DC Comics. We're talking Batman No Man's Land issue number 1.
$4 average sales and $125 for CGC 9.8 all the way back in July 2022. We're seeing a 253% increase in copies sold because they mentioned No Man's Land in the new Penguin series.
Kind of in passing, here is the quote. Yeah, my cousin lived over there. She said it's like a no man's land now or something. That right there could just be like a fun little Easter egg, you know, something just coming out of the character's mouth because there's like no Batman in this series and there probably won't be any Pattinson Batman. To our chagrin, doesn't really matter. The show is excellent. You need to watch it. But we're probably going to get less Batman in this series than we did in the Gotham series. This book you can get for $4 average sales, right? Like no one really specs on this book, but this book does not get the respect it deserves. This event is outstanding. This event inspired parts of the Arkham games, you know, like some of the best Batman games to have ever been made. This event inspired the Nolan films. I think if Christopher Nolan was pulling a James Gunn back in the day and utilizing Twitter, but I've heard Christopher Nolan doesn't even have social media, but if he did, and we were getting like the James Gunn style where he's just reading comics that were inspiring his scripts, I think Christopher Nolan would have No Man's Land in his hands.
This was an event that no one talks about now, but they should be. Early Cassandra Cain, early Harley Quinn, so many appearances, so many crossovers. The whole DC universe was wrapped into this single event. It was brilliant. And this one shot, Alex Ross cover, Alex Maleev interior, like some of these artists and writers at their peak, you gotta read it.
The change that I alluded to, not just in the clickbait, which I always address, mind you, but also earlier in this video, is an optimism as well as play to acquire DC keys in 2024. As much as half of this list is DC, and that never happens, like seldomly.
This next book is no exception. It is a perpetually relevant key that has been consistently selling for under market value. And even post-comic book bubble, a lot of these major DC keys are not getting the love that they should, but they soon will be. Number 8 on the list, DC presents number 26, first team appearance of the new Teen Titans. This is a book that a lot of people have been buying, and the price is down drastically. We are reporting a $250 average sale for a raw and $926 for CGC 9.8. That was just last month. We have to keep in mind that we were seeing sales over $2,000, and even in the last year, we have a $1,000 average sale on this. So this book is down. It's perpetually relevant, and it's a DC book that a lot of people are buying. 183% increase in copies sold this week alone.
But why are they buying it right now? Ana Nogueira, the writer of the Supergirl movie, was announced to be writing the Teen Titans movie like back in March. So there has been some focus on the new Teen Titans, and there's some other stuff going on. Stay tuned on the list. But I also know that this is a book that low-key has been being acquired by a lot of people in my network. They've been picking it up just in case. And I think it's because of the trust that they have in James Gunn and what he's bringing to the screen over the next few years. I don't think there's been this much confidence in DC keys since we started the damn channel.
This is probably the tip of the iceberg as well, because James Gunn already came out and said there is more Bat Family coming. There's a very good chance that Dick Grayson is going to be in the Teen Titans movie. And we know that Damian Wayne is going to be in the Brave and the Bold movie. Plus, we have a confirmation the dynamic duo, an animated Dick Grayson and Jason Todd Robin movie, which leads us to the next number, which is absolutely no surprise then. Number 7 on the list, Tales of the Teen Titans, number 44. First time we see Dick Grayson as Nightwing, $75 average sales, and a recent sale of $276 for CGC 9.8, but we had consistent sales back in early September of $350 for CGC 9.8. I believe the market is stronger than people are giving it credit for right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the dynamic duo movie. It's going to be an animated movie, which I think is important to mention, but also, gosh, their animated movies and shows just do laps on Marvel, don't they?
Absolutely. Justice League Dark is one of the best things I've ever seen. And if you want stuff that's a little bit off the beaten path, check out Batman Ninja or the Suicide Squad Isekai. I definitely like it when they're doing the more anime-influenced ones.
Well, we know we have a absolute revamp happening over at DC, and Nightwing, which was written by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, that ended recently, and it's going to be picked up by a new team. And yeah, there's a lot of like fun things happening with the Teen Titans, clearly with the movie and with James Gunn. But I want to like bring it back to the price of this book and Teen Titans in general. $1,000 for first new Teen Titans seems crazy to me. Seeing people pick that up for in the $900 range seems like a great buy. This book from 1984, first appearance of Nightwing, and you also get the origin of Deathstroke in here. This going for under $300 seems criminally low.
This is another one of those books that even though the census count keeps going up, the price keeps going down, and the demand is there, people who are collectors are just picking up this book on the down low because the price is good, and they believe long-term this book has potential.
Stay tuned because there's more news on Deathstroke later on the list. But I will mention that this new Nightwing series that's going to be kicking off has an issue 119 by none other than Dan Panosian, who is clearly hitting his stride. Have you been watching these covers he's been releasing? It's getting better and better. He's raising the bar with every single one. I'm watching him very close.
They're fantastic, and I have a lot of people who are buying the Dan Panosian covers specifically for this Nightwing run.
Go to ComicTom101 to join the mystery mail and call 1 per box is an NYX #1 by none other than Peach Momoko, a Trinity Comics exclusive that's selling for more than the box costs, which is $34.99, by the way. 4 to 5 comics, 2 exclusives guaranteed in every single box, chances at keys, and you support what we do. Number 6 on the list, Silver Surfer number 3, the first appearance of Mephisto.
Now, this book and Mephisto spec has been on our radar since before WandaVision, 4+ years at this point in time. And the fact that people are picking up 4.0s for around $200, and the most recent high sale was only $2,500 for CGC 9.4. This is a book that a lot of people are picking up, but it's a 300% increase in copies sold this week on a serious name drop in the Agatha All Along series.
That's right. Episode 3, they're talking about Nicholas Scratch, Agatha's son, and what could have happened to him. Did he die? Did he turn into a demon? Did he become an, quote, agent of Mephisto? Is this a line that they just threw out there to get collectors and fans excited? Is there going to be appearance of Mephisto? Is Sacha Baron Cohen actually going to portray Mephisto? We heard that there are rumors that he was cast as him for the Riri show, which is going to be kind of like a science against magic mashup with the Hood and Riri going full Iron Man. Who knows? But this book is so damn affordable. $200 for a 4.0. I had to check that price twice. You can verify that, Russ.
Oh, absolutely.
It just doesn't seem right. But this is such a dope book. It's tough and high grade, and everyone loves Mephisto. Will he be in the show, however? I don't think so. But there's so much supernatural stuff that's happening that it's not just spiking this book, it's spiking others as well.
A perpetually relevant 90s book on this list, number 5 on the list, Batman Vengeance of Bane, number 1 from 1993. This is the first appearance, cover, and origin of Bane. $100 average sales and $300 for CGC 9.8. Again, this just feels criminally low for some of these DC keys.
Let that price sink in. A book from 1993 selling for more than New Teen Titans 44 First Nightwing Origin of Deathstroke at a 9.8. And you just said Vengeance of Bane at $300 not just seems fair, but could be undervalued, which I agree. This book also is surprisingly tough and high grade. That red cover, and it's a weird square bound.
It really is. A lot of times you get that square bound, and I think they might have been damaged or bent when they were made. But back in 2021, we were seeing sales of this book between $900 and $1,000. 132% increase in copies sold this week, and I'll get to that in just a second. I really want to mention the fact that DC dropped the ball on this one. They went very, very hard for the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman, which was January 1993, but in June, July of 1993, Bane broke Batman's back, and they didn't do anything 30th anniversary there. So, for those of us that love Bane like I do, we are super excited on the announcement that we are going to have a Bane Deathstroke animated movie. Oh, it gives me chills.
There was a bunch of Bane books that were spiking in anticipation of the 30th anniversary that they didn't really celebrate. Why are you doing Bane so dirty? Dark Knight Rises was freaking awesome, dude. There's a lot of Bane love out there, and I think the movie that's coming out proves it. Looking at the list at number 4, Agatha supernatural narratives are spiking other keys that have to do with the occult, with demons, with the 9. We have Ghost Rider number 28 seeing $25 average sales, $61 for a 9.8. And this is the spec that will not die, pun intended, because we're talking about like vampires and stuff. What's up, Butch?
This last week saw the 4th episode of Agatha All Along, so we're about halfway through the series, and I'm seeing more and more speculation that we are going to see a spin-off or 2, and it would make sense that these things would be horror-based. So when you have the cameo team appearance of the 9, and you have multiple people in this book, like Ghost Rider Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze, Morbius has already had a movie, Blade's in its 5th rewrite, and the fact that we've seen Blade, Lilith was supposed to be the bad person in that one, and we know we had Mia Goth casting information. Like, this horror stuff isn't that far of a reach, but again, one of those specs that will not die. 360% increase in copies sold this week. It's a low buy-in.
Holiday special. I mean, don't forget about Werewolf by Night. They hit us with Man-Thing randomly back in 2022. I wouldn't be surprised, although it'd be life-changing to see Johnny Blaze hit the screen in like under a month. I mean, they may surprise us with this holiday special. Maybe people are buying this just in case, because the heights this book reached was over $500 in a 9.8, and you can get it close to what it would cost to find a high-grade copy, cut it out of the poly bag, submit it to CGC, and pay the $24 to get it done.
Number 3 on the list, one of my favorite undervalued keys, and also why you shouldn't be just looking at the number 1s in a series for the first appearances. New Teen Titans number 2, first appearance of Deathstroke. $350 average sales, and $630 for a CGC 9.8. I have seen people buy Raws for more than this 9.8 just sold for.
Yeah, this is up 367%. Yes, we have James Gunn's spec. Absolutely expect to see Deathstroke. I mean, don't forget, back in 2022, prior to all the announcements that were made about what he was bringing to the DCU, the new DCU, well, he mentioned in response to, will we see Deathstroke? He said something along the lines of, we'll have to wait and see, you know, like I could be, like it's going to happen. We're going to get Deathstroke. Deathstroke was actually supposed to be the villain in the Ben Affleck Batman movie that never happened, that he was supposed to direct, you know? But also we found out this past week, along with a bunch of other animations, we're getting a Bane Deathstroke team-up animated movie, which spiked Vengeance of Bane, and it's spiking Deathstroke this week.
Tom and I have been talking for many, many months now that a lot of these books are feeling too low. Do you think this is the start of a DC explosion, or do you think the bottom is still coming? Comment down below.
Yeah, I gotta know if you own any of these books or if you're hunting for any of these books. I want to know why. Let me know in the comment section below. Trying to respond to the comments a lot more. I want to chat with you, which brings us to number 2 on the list with an IP that I really don't know anything about. We have Voltron #1. This is from 1985. Technically, this came out prior to Transformers, I believe. $80 average sales, $250 for a CGC 9.8, which does feel low when you consider that the 9.8 heights were like closer to $1,000 back in 2021 when we found out that Amazon was picking this up for a live action movie. But we hadn't heard a whole lot of updates up until this past week when we got an announcement of some casting.
Now, this announcement excites me because Daniel Quinn Toy, who is not a household name, he was a Tom Holland understudy, is being cast to be in the Voltron live-action movie. I think this is something that Marvel should actually do for the movies that they are making, and I like Amazon moving forward with this movie with someone who is not necessarily a household name. It's a great way to be able to get someone established. Now, a little bit of a crash course in Voltron. Back in 1981, they actually had an animated series in Japan called Go Lion, which is 5 lion, and these 5 lions came together and made a giant robot. Well, they revamped it in 1984 for an animated series in the US, and rather than calling it Go Lion, they called it Voltron. So it actually was released just before the Transformers toy line. So, a lot of us 80s kids were playing with multiple toys that transformed from one thing into another thing. It was a glorious time. All the toys were metal. We had parts to choke on. It was pretty awesome.
Like and subscribe the video. We need your support to fight the algorithm gods. And we have at the list the most trending book in the world this week. Came out in 2015, and it's by Image Comics. We have an independent book to discuss, The Beauty. Issue #1, seeing $15 average sales, $108 for a CGC 9.8. What if there was an STD that made you a beautiful person that everyone wanted to get, but sometimes you spontaneously combust Incubus style? That was a pardon me joke, damn it.
Really was.
If that doesn't get a like, I don't know what will. An increase the copies sold of 764%. We have like the producers from American Horror Story that is going to be bringing this to a series. And that right there is really all you need to hear, because American Horror Story is impeccable. But then you see the casting that they just announced, and now people are buying the book for good reason.
All right. This is the reason why we always tell you to download the Key Collector app, available on Android and iPhone. Use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks of the best app in existence. Back in July 2020, there was an exclusive Key Collector alert talking about how Beauty was in development as a Netflix series. Again, July of 2020. Well, finally, took a little while, but in 2024, right now, we know that FX has ordered a series, and the casting is crazy. Ashton Kutcher, Anthony Ramos, Evan Peters from American Horror Story, and Jeremy Pope. This casting list is crazy.
Inside sources told Key Collector about that in 2020. I recommend that you go and look at option status independent books between like 2019 and late 2020, because there was a lot of things going on in the world during that time frame that forced the option status IPs to then go right back on the shelf because what was going on in the world. These optioned titles are starting to now come full circle. This isn't the only independent book that has spiked on the list because of random updates that we haven't talked about in 4 years. Specifically, an increase of copies sold of 764%. As always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said.